My name is Matthew Orr. I'm the owner, founder, and chief architect of VoIP Tools. I'll be presenting the demo today. Along with me is Sarah, our chief of staff. She's the real boss of this place. I often like to mention that I'm a technical person and not a sales marketing person. So if you were looking for a real polished presentation, I'm probably not your guy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the common challenges that we face with voicemails in 3CX. One of them is mitigated somewhat by the web clients that are now available, but we do provide anywhere access to your voicemails. So whether you are using your browser on your laptop or iPad or cell phone, you get access to your voicemails anywhere. We do allow you to choose the order in which you're accessing your voicemail, so you're not forced to do the most recent and work your way backwards or vice versa. You get to choose and you can see them all at once. We give you the ability to forward voicemails easily rather than pushing buttons in the voicemail system. And we allow you to add introductions to those voicemails prior to forwarding them to your colleagues. We provide a little better group voicemail, and we'll kind of walk through how our approach works better. We also provide email escalation, which means that if somebody doesn't listen to a voicemail for a while, you can automatically escalate those up to a manager. And we provide more granular transcription. With 3CX, you're transcribing everybody's voicemail. With ours, I will show you how you can selectively choose which extensions have their voicemails transcribed. And then we'll kind of look at archival. All right, so before we jump into voicemail, let's just do a quick run through of how VoIP Tools fits in the architecture of 3CX, because it's helpful to understand some things so that when we talk about implementation, you'll understand the wheres and the whys. So we'll start out with a quick conversation. This should take maybe 1 minute or so, and then we'll jump right into the demo. So we start out with a 3CX server, and that can be Windows or Linux. Obviously, on that server, you're going to install the phone system. And for the purposes of this discussion, the two pieces of 3CX that are important is the 3CX call control API, which allows you to communicate with the 3CX server, and the call flow designer. And many of our applications take advantage of the capabilities of the call flow designer. But how do we interact with these tools? And that's through our VoIP Tools relay. And that relay has two important components. We provide a REST API, and all of our tools communicate with that REST API. And we also have an events API, so we can subscribe to real-time events and interact with 3CX in a real-time manner. What you'll discover is that our applications communicate to the relay, and then the relay communicates with the 3CX server. But placement of where the relay is important. It is installed on the 3CX server, but nothing else. Just the relay is installed directly on your 3CX server. Our applications, in contrast, are installed on a separate server. And typically you'll have a Microsoft SQL server there. The free Express edition is adequate for most customers. Web server to present our user interfaces. And then this is where we install tools like Recording Manager and Voicemail Manager and wallboards and dialers and all the other tools that we provide, and also any custom tools that we develop for you or your customers. Those all get installed on a separate server. Do want to mention that as of today, the VoIP tool server is Windows. We are gradually migrating our tools over to Linux, and eventually you'll be able to start running all of our tools on Linux as well. But to be clear, our tools go on one server, The relay is the only thing that gets installed directly on the 3CX server. But how do these two servers communicate together? They do that over HTTPS, so it's an encrypted connection. And then we further require JWT authorization tokens. So the very, very secure platform. But what's important to recognize here is that because we're talking over HTTPS, it doesn't matter where 3CX exists and where the VoIP Tools server exists. So the VoIP Tools server could be on-prem and the 3CX server could be in the cloud, or they could both be in the cloud, or vice versa, 3CX on-prem and VoIP Tools hosted. If you don't want to deal with managing these VoIP Tool servers, we also offer hosting, but we have a support team 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year via email, phone. All right, so that's how our tools fit into the architecture of 3CX. Let's start with logging in. One of the things you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner is that it says that it's up to date. So this is how you can make sure that your tools are always updated. Look up in that corner and it'll let you know if there's a newer version involved. You log in with your 3CX extension and voicemail pin. And then based on your permissions within 3CX, it'll determine what you see in this main browser screen. So if you look in this column here, you'll see lots of different extension, and that's a indication that I've logged in as a manager. Normally, you would only see your own. Clicking on that icon allows you to listen to a recording right from within your browser. You can also forward these recordings as an attachment in an email. The green checkbox is an indication that nobody's made any changes to that recording. So we take a hash of the recording, and as long as the hash remains the same, we know that nobody's tinkered with it. If you want to forward this voicemail to one of your colleagues, you can come in here and select the specific extensions that you want to forward it to. And you can also add an introduction right here. So clicking on that button will cause your phone to ring, because remember, you're logged in with your extension. You save the recording, it gets attached to the voicemail, and then it forwards that voicemail to your colleagues. If you've got staff that are in different time zones like we do, because we've got an office in Delhi and an office in Hyderabad and an office in Wisconsin and Utah, being able to see it in the right time zone is useful. Distribution. This is group voicemail. So you select a group of people that you want to participate in a group. Select a group voicemail box, and then the group of people that should be notified when that voicemail is received in the monitored voicemail box. But what's different about our approach is that because it's a standard voicemail box, it's going to have all the capabilities of a regular voicemail box. So you can have various greetings based on time of year. So you could have Christmas greetings, all of the functions that are built into a regular voicemail box. But in addition to that, when a voicemail is received, we don't just send you an email, we actually distribute that voicemail to your voicemail box. And why is that important? Well, that means that your message waiting indicator will come on your phone. And if anybody listens to that voicemail in any of their voicemail boxes, anyone in the group, then it will flag that voicemail as having been heard. And so it'll turn the message waiting indicator off for everybody else in the group. And then if you go into the main browser screen where I showed you initially when we came into Voicemail Manager, it'll show that that voicemail's been heard. So you don't have a bunch of people running around chasing after the same voicemail like you would in the case of 3CX's group voicemail, where it just sends a voicemail. With us, we're going to turn on the message waiting indicator, and we're going to mark it as heard if anyone in the group listens to that voicemail. All right, so let's move on to escalation. This is where you create a group in 3CX sales, for example, and anybody in that group is going to be monitored. And if their voicemails go unheard for the specified number of minutes, then it will escalate that voicemail up to the email or emails specified. Okay. So that's what escalation is. So if you have a salesperson, for example, who's gone on vacation, an important customer has left a voicemail in his voicemail box, but he's on a cruise and inaccessible for the next 7 days, you really don't want that important client's voicemail unheard in that voicemail box for any length of time. So you can automatically escalate that voicemail up to a manager after the prescribed amount of time. So for technical support, you might say that it's okay for a voicemail to sit in a voicemail box unheard for an hour. Sales, maybe it's 15 minutes. I mean, you choose. So each group, you can specify a different length of time before it gets escalated up to someone else. Let's look at settings. What I've gone in here to do is I've selected the transcription setting. And this is where you select which persons are going to have their voicemails transcribed so that you're not paying for everybody. And then here's where you can change the colors of the user interface. So if you'd like it to look like your company colors, you can upload a logo, you can change the header name to be My Voicemail Manager, that kind of thing. And then when you go into the user interface, you can change the color. So it's just minor modifications to the user interface. We also provide some reports. Here you can see all of the voicemails. And if there were transcriptions, it would show you that and total number of voicemails. And you can export this data in various formats. So this is a way to keep an eye on who's hogging up the hard disk space. And then if you have questions or challenges, you can access us through various means, create a ticket. Now here is some configuration information that is kind of a one-time thing. So when you install Voicemail Manager for the first time, you can import any existing voicemails. This is where you would specify whether managers can see the voicemails of those people whom they manage. So that's an optional feature. Because you may not want them to be able to see everybody's voicemail, or you may. SMTP settings, and then you can attach the voicemails to the emails as an MP3. You can set a retention policy where it deletes the voicemail after it's been sent, or you can schedule them to be deleted. Important if you have limited space on your hosted server. So if it removes it, you can remove it directly from the database so that there's nothing there. If you want to archive those recordings, you can just specify a path and it'll make a copy of those voicemails. So if somebody's trying to hide their tracks, they can't. This is where you would put in the criteria for Google transcriptions, and you could test that configuration from there. And this one's really just about how frequently we check for voicemails for monitoring purposes. So this is in a number of seconds. And so it's a function of how much utilization you want to run on your server. So if once every 30 seconds is good enough for you, or once every 5 minutes is good enough for you to monitor a voicemail box. This is how often it's going to go and check. So if resources is a challenge, you might want to set this up to once a minute. If you've got tons of resources, you might want to check every few seconds. That's up to you. So you save the changes and press close, and that's pretty much all there is to setting up Voicemail Manager. All right, well, I tried to be brief today, so I do very much appreciate that you've taken some time out of your day to take a look at our tools. One of the things that you'll discover about our company is that we're very open to making changes to our tools. You guys really drive what tools we build, because you're calling us and asking us, do you have a tool for this? And when we get the same question over and over again, we'll go out and build a tool. Or if you need a specific feature, and we get asked about it over and over again, we'll add that feature. If it's a broadly useful feature to our customers, oftentimes we'll fund all or a portion of those enhancements. Sometimes if it's a really big change, we might ask for a little help, but everybody benefits when we add a feature. And so we love to hear back from you about your needs, and we try to be very responsive by adding the features that you guys are requesting as quickly as we can. With that, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.